Let's go back to 2020. It's the Clone Wars. When the credits rolled for the final episode, it felt like a miracle. We finally got the ending we all deserved. But for the hardcore fans, there has always been a lingering shadow, more so of a what if that haunted the archives. Before the show was originally canceled, Dave Filoni had over 40 episodes planned to bridge the gap to Revenge of the Sith. We got the Bad Batch and the Siege of Mandalore, but 4 massive stories were left behind, regated to novels, comics, and even unfinished sketches. So today, we're going to open those 4 stories. We're going to talk about Asajj Ventress and Quinlan Vos with Dark Disciple, the brutal underworld of the son of Dathomir with Darth Maul, and even that Western-style showdown between Boba Fett and Cad Bane, and Yoda and his mystical journey on Kashyyyk. And mind you, these are not just missing pieces, these are part of the Clone Wars Season 7 DNA. So let's go ahead and roll the intro and get right into it. Let's go ahead and talk about Dark Disciple, the forbidden mission between Quinlan Vos, Asajj Ventress, and even the Jedi in the background. The Jedi were never meant to be assassins, but by the end of the war, the Council was desperate. They authorized a hit on Count Dooku, and they chose one Jedi unconventional enough to do it, Quinlan Vos. But to get close to Dooku, Vos had to find one person who knew him best, his betrayed apprentice, Asajj Ventress. This wasn't just a mission, it was a descent. Ventress agreed to train Vos in the ways of the dark side, not just to turn him to the dark side, but to give him that edge that he needed to defeat Dooku. What the Council didn't expect was for him to fall in love. It was one of the most human stories in the franchise. 2 outcasts finding a home in each other while the galaxies burn. But the dark side is always a trap. We know this. Vos was eventually captured and turned into Dooku's new puppet, Enigma. The arc culminated in a heartbreaking finale where Ventress, the former villain, gave her life to save the man she loved. She died as a hero of the Republic she once fought, and her loss is what finally pushed Vos back to the light. It was a story of redemption paid for in blood, and it changed the way we look at the Jedi Order forever. This story right here, of course, is one of my favorites just because I'm a huge Quinlan Vos fan. If you guys aren't new here, you know this by now, so it could sound like old news, but for the new viewers, Quinlan Vos is one of my favorite characters, easily top 4, top 3. So I'm hoping at some point we can get the story brought back to life. I do think all of these stories will come to fruition. I do think that they'll see the light of day, just not right now. They definitely could be projects in the future. And if I really want one to happen, it's going to be Dark Disciple. So moving on to the son of Dathomir, this is Maul's last stand. If you ever wondered how Maul went from being Sidious's prisoner in Season 5 to the ruler of Mandalore in Season 7, the son of Dathomir is the missing link. This was a total war between the galaxy's 2 greatest villains. After being rescued from a Sith prison, Maul rallied his criminal empire to strike back at Dooku and Grievous. This arc featured some of the most heavy metal moments in the series. Maul and Mother Talzin versus Sidious and Dooku. It was this clash of ancient magic and Sith lightning. Maul actually managed to capture both Grievous and Dooku, attempting to lure Sidious into a trap on Dathomir. But the Emperor is always 3 steps ahead, while everyone is 40 back. The story ended in tragedy for Maul. His mother Talzin sacrificed herself to allow him to escape as Grievous executed her. Maul was left with nothing. No mother, no future, setting the stage for a desperate, broken vision of the character we all see in the final season. It proved that in the game of the Sith, there are no winners, but only survivors. Now, we do have Maul Shadow Lord coming out in the next couple months, but this right here, back in the time of the Clone Wars, during the events of Revenge of the Sith even, this is what leads into him trying to recruit Ahsoka to go against the Emperor. He's basically lost everything. So this story right here would be amazing to see. Now, I know Maul Shadow Lord takes place 1 year after Order 66. This is a good timeline, but imagine seeing Maul during this timeline in this different state. It would be amazing. Now let's move on to the bounty hunters, the dent in the helmet. Star Wars has always been a space western, and this arc was the ultimate tribute to that genre. It featured a young Boba Fett still wearing his father's prototype armor, teaming up with the deadliest man in the galaxy, Cad Bane. Bane acted as a mentor to Boba, but their bond was toxic. Bane wanted Boba to be a cold-blooded killer who cared for only the credits, while Boba was struggling to find the honor his father Jango had always talked about. Tension boiled over a duel during a mission to rescue a kidnapped child. It led to a classic high noon quick draw duel. The 2 hunters fired at the same exact time, while Cad Bane was hit in the head and seemingly killed, while Boba was hit square in the head. His Beskar helmet saved his life, but it left behind that iconic jagged dent that we see throughout the original trilogy. This was the moment that the boy died and the bounty hunter was born. It wasn't just a fight, it was the passing of the torch from one generation of outlaws to the next. In canon, finally seeing that moment where Boba Fett's iconic dent was created. Now, this would be something really cool. We do see in the book of Boba Fett the end of Cad Bane, quote unquote. We don't know what's going to happen next, but seeing all of that come around full circle. We do know that Cad Bane sees hints of Jango and Boba. So going forward with Boba's character, it would be really cool to go back and see his beginning steps to seeing him carry that Mandalorian armor just like his father did, as well as trying to go on and be a great bounty hunter once like his father. So Cad Bane being the caliber of bounty hunter that he was, this is a good little fight to see a beginning age of Boba Fett as a bounty hunter go against kind of more so of a top dog. I feel like for Star Wars fans, this would probably be one of the most satisfying Clone Wars arcs that we missed out on. Something that we would see and be like, this was amazing. So it's never too late. Maybe we could see this. I think it could very well happen. And last but not least, moving on to Yoda on Kashyyyk, the spirit of the forest. Understanding that bond between Yoda and the Wookiees. The story was intended to show us why Yoda had such a good relations with the Wookiees in Revenge of the Sith. It wasn't just about troop movements, it was spiritual. Yoda traveled to the Wookiees' homeworld to help Chieftain Tarful defend the Great Trees from a separatist invasion led by the Trandoshans. The Wookiees have a unique connection to their planet. They believe the trees are the sentient spirits. This arc would have explored a new side of the Force, one that was more primal and earthbound than the Jedi Temple's teachings. We would have seen Yoda riding giant forest beasts into the battle alongside the Bad Batch, defending a culture that valued life above all else. It serves as a beautiful, calm before the storm moment, making the eventual betrayal of Order 66 on this planet even more devastating. It showed that even in a war of clones and droids, the natural world still had a soul worth fighting for. And kind of like we mentioned in the notes here, the calm before the storm. We know what happens on Kashyyyk. Everything went downhill pretty quickly. And I feel like this is one of those ones straight out of Revenge of the Sith. This would have been a simple plug and play moment. This would have been very traumatic, seeing all of the events happen and how they unfold on Kashyyyk. I mean, there's so many instances where Yoda, the Grand Master Jedi, fall in these moments. It would have been really cool to actually see the bond between him, Tarful, and even Chewbacca. These four stories represent a version of the Clone Wars that we may never see fully animated, but their impact is completely undeniable. They remind us that the Star Wars galaxy is a vast, and for every hero that we see on screen, there are a dozen more stories happening in the shadows. Whether it's the tragedy of Ventress or the rise of Boba Fett, these lost missions are what make the universe feel alive and deeply human. Thank you for exploring these archives with me. I do not think that these are completely washed. I will expect these to come out at some point, maybe in a Tales of the Clone Wars, something. We could get 2 of these stories to come to light. I mean, I think this would be a really cool thing for Star Wars to actually show fans what season 7 of the Clone Wars could have been. Now, don't get me wrong, what we got in season 7 was amazing. Everything that happened between Maul and Ahsoka, the clones, I mean, it was beautiful. It really did impact the Revenge of the Sith movie even more than what a great movie it was already. It helped enhance it so much more that we never would have thought we could have gotten. But as always, let me know in the comments, what do you guys want to see most of these 4 little stories here that we missed in Clone Wars season 7 originally? Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and of course, let me know what you guys think down below. With all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you in the next one. Clan Brandalorian, this is the way.